Hey there, everybody. I'm Pam Houghteling, and with me is Marilyn Bradford, as usual. And we are the Irreverent Therapists. Welcome. We are here today.
Hey, Pam.
Let me press send on this thing. Okay, so we're here today to talk about mistakes. So, have you ever made a mistake? I bet your answer is yes. But what if you haven't? What if you've never made a mistake in your life? I know for a lot of people that might be hard to believe. Is that possible? Maybe it's just how you've looked at something, or perhaps you choose something because you cut off your awareness. What if there's a gift in everything you've called a mistake? What if your life is right on target?
Cool.
Yeah.
I love this topic because it's so easy to go to the wrongness of me.
Yeah.
Rather than being present with what's going on and asking, what is the gift?
Yeah. Well, I'd like to ask everybody right now, just whatever time of day it is for you when you're watching this, how many times already today have you judged yourself as wrong, or that you've made a mistake, or that you screwed up, or you're not doing enough, or something like that?
It's interesting. I had a night where I just couldn't sleep. I ended up going upstairs and sleeping on the couch and I judged myself as wrong for not being able to go to sleep.
Well, oh, you are so wrong for not sleeping, Marilyn. How could you?
And the interesting thing was, I was listening to, there was just an amazing class recently, Access Benevolent Capitalism. I was listening to that, and the gift was I got to hear it. I mean, sometimes I play things and I'm asleep, and that's fine too. I know that I get the energy, but I got some wonderful insights just from listening to it. So I said, okay, so that's the gift. Yeah. I got to hear this class,
Yep. Well, and it's interesting. I'm in the middle of facilitating a Business Done Different class. And, people talk about how, you learn from your mistakes, and I don't mean it that way, but it's like truly anything you choose, you gain awareness. It creates something. You see what it created, and you can be like, that's really not what I want to create. I'd like to choose something different. So, yeah.
I a few years ago, I don't remember, 2 or 3 years ago, I created a minor car accident in my own driveway. I have this long driveway, and then it curves around to where I park. And at that point, my landlady's taking them down. There was this whole forest of trees. Well, I went down, I was not speeding, but I was down the driveway, and I was not paying attention. I was not being present. And boink, $5,000 worth of damage to my right front fender.
Was the tree okay?
Oh, yeah, the tree was fine. But minor, not, but the car was not fine. I mean, I could drive it, and that was good. But the whole point was, I'm like, oh, the gift is to pay attention.
Yeah.
And to be present all the time, not just on automatic pilot, which I've, done this driveway thing hundreds of times. And that was a real gift. And I found myself being willing to be a lot more present. And also, sometimes the universe really has our backs, even though we don't see it. Oh my God, I had a car accident. Fortunately, I had insurance, so I didn't have to pay all of that. But it's like it was on my own property, basically. Nobody was hurt. I didn't have to wait for the police. So there was lots to be said for if I was going to have an accident to show me to get your act together, Marilyn, and be present.
Yeah.
This was a good one.
Yeah. I had a minor car accident like that too. I was coming out of somewhere with a light, and then there's cross traffic turning left, also with a green light, but I'm turning right, so I have the right of way. And I just assumed that the guy who was waiting to turn left, like that I would go first because I have the right of way. And he slammed right into the side of my car because he thought I would have a red light, and he just had green. And, and I can remember having that moment of, oh, I can just go.
Yeah.
And my awareness was saying, pay attention. And if I were paying attention, I could have hit the brakes, I could have honked my horn, but I was completely in the right in terms of traffic laws, but I was being very unaware and not paying attention to those little gentle, perceivings of energy.
Yes.
And, managed to have my whole car smashed in on the side. And it's in those moments, it's easy to go to, oh crap, what was I thinking? Blah, 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 blah. I'm wrong for this. And what if you don't?
Yeah. What if you don't?
What if you're never wrong?
Yeah. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
I was a psychotherapist for, 30 something years or something. And a lot of times, mostly women, occasionally men, would talk about how they made a mistake marrying their partner or in the relationship they were currently in. But when we began to ask questions like, what attracted you to this person to begin with? Was it all mental? Was it all strong feelings? What questions did you not ask before getting with this person? It's a really big one.
If I choose this, what will my life be like in 5 years?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I always ask, so what has been the gift of this relationship, whether you stay in it or not? And sometimes we have to really work at finding the gift.
Yeah.
But there usually is one. And sometimes it goes back to things like confusing abuse and love, or, marrying someone who was just like your father or your actual, even if you, like your grandmother, or whoever it was.
Yeah.
And it's all about not being aware.
Yeah. Well, and if you've been watching many of our shows, you will have noticed that these tools that Marilyn and I use, right? Access consciousness tools, it all has to do with the energy of things and choosing to shift and change the energy to help something different show up. So, Marilyn drove into her tree. I, assumed some guy would obey the traffic rules. Both of us ended up in little car accidents. And what do I want to talk about is, what if it's not about the thing that occurred? Yes. What if it's about how you be with it, the energy you choose to be with it? Because when I had my little accident, I didn't have any point of view about having had that accident. Where I went into point of view was dealing with the insurance company and the car repair people. And, because I had the point of view that this is an area of life I don't know anything about. I'm going to get taken advantage of and not, like all this stuff. And I would go into stress and reaction and contraction. And so what I would say is, the car accident was the car accident, but I suffered with it because of my points of view.
Yes.
And I suffered with it because of the energy I was choosing to be with it.
Yes.
And I actually call it my month of misery, because Marilyn facilitated me a lot. Like, I'd get facilitation, I'd be space, I'd get another text message about the insurance or the car or something, and I'd be like, and finally I was listening to a class that Dr. Dane here was facilitating. And I suddenly got it. I was like, I'm the one choosing to make this a problem. Mm-hmm. I'm choosing to be at the effect of all this. Yes. I'm choosing to have a bad hair day. I could choose different. So I had my daughter run my bars, which access bars is like a hands-on technique for relieving stress and just dissipating points of view and stuff. So I had her run my bars, and then I just changed my point of view.
Yeah.
And then I didn't have any trouble with it anymore. I didn't suffer anymore. And I was able to just handle the things that came up that needed to be handled without spiraling into something that was not very fun.
Yes. And one of the things that you said was, you called me, and I think you called for facilitation. When we ask people for help or assistance, not to commiserate with us, not to go, oh, you're such a victim, or I'm so sorry, blah, 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 blah.
Not to reinforce the point of view that I was using to abuse myself and be miserable.
but actually ask them questions that will facilitate them in changing that energy and having a different point of view, because that's what creates the change. And I just want to say one other thing that's been a big thing in Access recently, this being all on your own, being John Wayne, being pull yourself up by your bootstraps and not asking for help. What if, and I just did it because I'm selling a rent house, and what if, Pam, you called someone and said, or you said, Universe, I need someone to help me through this insurance business. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
And that's how I have been with selling this rent house. And lo and behold, the lead person on my team is a real estate agent. And she's like, these questions. And we think it's a mistake to ask for help. It's not. Just make sure, ask a question. Is this person going to be able to contribute in a way that's going to move this forward and change things?
Yeah. And because so often we think of asking for help as asking someone to fix it for us, take care of this, make it better.
Yes.
That's not having, your consciousness pants on. Like, what if, because when I would call Marilyn, what I knew was she's someone who won't buy into my point of view. She'll ask me some questions.
Yes.
Asking those questions opens the door to perceiving and being aware of what is, where I'm functioning from crap. We used the clearing statement, kind of cleared some stuff. But I was willing to go right back into it because somewhere, I had these kind of background points of view. And it wasn't till I was willing to really be a different energy with it that I changed it. And, so what it makes me think of is it's also whether it's the car accident, which you might judge as a bad thing, or maybe it's, getting a new job that you're excited about. Maybe it's finding, something to add to your life that's bringing you a lot of joy. Whatever it is, we can go to judgment and conclusion. I finally got it right. Now this is my life, and I got it right is as much of a judgment as I got it wrong and I made a mistake. But what if with everything that's going on, there's no mistake, there's no failure, there's no I got it right and no I got it wrong. There's just, here's what it is and what I'm choosing to be with it, the points of view I have about it or choose to not have about it makes all the difference in whether you're thinking of it as a mistake and being affected by it as a mistake or whether you're choosing to create with it.
Yes. Oh, I like that. Whether you're choosing to create with it and be aware of it. And also, how much are you basing your judgment of mistakes on the past, on all your points of view that you were taught? Say you're in a marriage and it's not working. Do you have a point of view? I made a mistake because I can't get divorced because we can't do that in my family.
Yeah.
And there are all kinds of points of view we have that we've taken on from our past that, I don't even want to use the word facilitate, but shove us in the direction of judging that we've been making mistakes. Maybe your job didn't work out or you don't have as much money as you would like to have had. If you go to the mistake, the thing about a judgment is judgments cut off any possibilities of choosing something different. So if you're judging it, you can't go, I wonder what else would have been possible or what can I choose now? And if I'm not choosing from my past, what other point of view could I have or what question could I ask? It's all about expanding and asking questions to get you out of the pit hole of judging something as a mistake.
There's one of the projects I work on. I was talking with one of my colleagues yesterday, and it's something that has grown very complicated over the years, right? And it's, because this gets added and this gets added and, and there's only 3 people who can make any sense out of it in the whole company, right? and I was like, well, if one of you left tomorrow, we would just put attention and energy into creating something completely different,
Yeah.
Like it would be fine. Yes, there's only 3 people who get this and we could do it. And then we were like, well, why don't we just do it anyway? Because we've created something that's very structured. We've created something that's very complicated. We've created something where it's hard to bring anyone else in to help with it because it's so complicated. Wow. So what if we actually tossed it and said, okay, starting from scratch, what would we choose here? And then we can see what that would be, something that's way simpler. And maybe it has some, we won't know exactly and have it perfect. There'll be room for things to slide by. And if that allows it to grow because we can have more people who help and the whole thing can expand, that, what we do then is look and ask questions and choose what's lighter, follow that energy of what's more expansive. But it's just a point of view that that this is the way we've done it and this is how it works. And we have to find some way to train someone to make sense of it. And so they can help. It's like, no, what if we toss the whole thing and create something new? So if you're functioning from the idea that you can make mistakes, you can't pivot,
right,
and choose something different and kind of see this way bigger picture. It's like you have tunnel vision on that thing and what you did and that it was a mistake and that you're wrong. And, oh, here I did it again. I've done this so many times. Well, I thought I changed this. You can see how you can just spiral into judgment of you and the wrongness of you. And if instead you take a moment and so Marilyn, I'll do the 4 questions, right? So whatever it is you think you made a mistake about, what is this? What can I do with it? Can it change? If so, how do you change it?
Yeah.
And can you see that creates space, an energy space from which you can look at things differently and pull out another tool to use, call someone for contribution, whatever it is, you're starting to shift and change things already.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's a great example. There's one other thing I wanted to bring up, which is sort of the other side of the coin of I made a mistake, which is I'm always right and I'm a victim. Because that also doesn't give you any space to change. Yeah. I had a neighbor and she was the most obnoxious neighbor. And you could just tell that, there was smells from her apartment and, she was constantly degrading other people. And she was just not a pleasant person. And then she was shocked when the landlord didn't want to renew her rent, didn't renew her lease. Mm-hmm. How can they treat me that way? Excuse me, I need this, but she had no willingness to be self-aware. Mm-hmm. And as far as she was concerned, everything that she did was just fine. And she was totally justified in it.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that keeps people from being able to move forward. If you've already decided that everything you do is right, you don't have a chance.
Yeah, because whether the judgment is I'm right, I'm always right, yes, or I'm always wrong, right, or, I finally got this right, or I made a mistake, I failed. Like it's all just a point of view.
Yes.
And if you're present, we started out talking about presence.
Yes.
Marilyn was like, oh, if I'll be present, and that, that's what she took away from her experience. But if you're present with what is, then you can actually perceive what's possible.
Right.
What can you actually do with this? And I'd say be present and ask questions that are true questions. So, how do I fix the mess my life is not a question because you've already judged that it's a mess. But what can I add to my life that would create something different?
Yes.
Is a question. Then it's like opens the door to starting to perceive what could you add to your life that would create something different.
Excellent. So the next time you go to judgment of being right or wrong, or I made a mistake, or I'm perfect, what if you paused and said, well, if I wasn't doing these judgments, what would I be aware of? Yeah. What questions could I ask? What's possible that I've never even considered?
What would I choose? If I wasn't going to this, what would I choose? I love that tool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Well, I will cue the music. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time.